Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm Melissa if you haven't been here before. Today what we're going to do is we're going to be having my husband on the channel again to read us ghost stories while I do my makeup. So he's got some ghost stories picked out he's going to read to us, and I'm going to do my makeup and we'll just see what kind of look I come up with and have some fun just getting a little scared. So if that's something you want to see, then just keep watching. Alright, so I took off my glasses, I got my ears on. I also put on my brows and my little eye base here. I'm going to get started with my eyeshadow while my husband starts on the first story. I'll try to put down below the makeup that I'm using because I won't be able to tell you during the video. So I'll try to leave in the description box the makeup products that I'm using. So, we're going to start with the first story.
Ready?
Yep.
Alright. Hi folks. Let me start off saying that I'm about to get my degree in science, which has taught me to be very skeptical of things considered to be paranormal. I believe in coincidence and the idea that the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. With that caveat in place, let me begin. I grew up in a suburb of Boston, Massachusetts. My house had been built in the 50s, and no one had ever died in it or experienced severe trauma, etc. before that. The land had been used for simple farming. This was a pretty ordinary place, perfect for little me to grow up. As a child, I had a very vivid imagination. The basement of the house terrified me. Sounds like you.
Yeah.
But what small child hasn't been scared of a basement or an attic? What was really bizarre is that even as I grew up, my fear of the basement never abated. Still sounds kind of like you. I never got over my fear of the dark. Now, I got over my fear of the dark, my closet, my mother's wig, don't ask, it was scary when I was 3, spiders, etc. I wonder why his mom had I guess a lot of people wear wigs.
Yeah.
I guess I just didn't grow up in a wig type family.
Yeah.
But I never ceased to fear the basement. I felt childish as a teen, but until I moved out of my parents' house, I always had this routine that I followed. If I was downstairs, I would turn on the light at the bottom of the stairs. Then I would run fast as I could up the stairs.
That does sound like me.
I know. Then I would run as fast as I could up the stairs, turn the lamp on at the top, then flip the switch for the bottom of the stairs off. Then I turned on the hallway light. Then I would turn the light off at the top of the stairs, run down the hall, etc. So literally go turn on this light, then turn on this light, and then go back, turn off this light.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of work just to go to the basement, and I think I'd avoid the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, I played leapfrog with the lights, even at the age of 18. I hated being downstairs in the dark. I thought maybe I was insane. I also have an old cat, Fluffy, who used to flip out sometimes in the basement. He'd sit there calmly, yowl, and then bolt up the stairs. I didn't think much of it. Small things have happened in my house, but I've always dismissed them as faulty wiring or my imagination acting up. A couple small things do stand out. See, that's one thing I ain't never really got. Like when people talk about their small things, but I kind of, like it might, I don't know, maybe it's because I grew up and my dad knows how to work on shit. Work on things.
Mm-hmm.
But if the lights are flicking it on and off and stuff like that, I don't just automatically assume that it's faulty wiring.
Yeah.
I mean, houses in the 50s don't have the greatest wiring, but your lighting shouldn't be flipping on and off. Just saying. Cold spots, stuff like that. All gets cold in the house. I think there's just a draft. But you got new windows in your house. Just saying.
Yeah.
Alright. Once during the early evening, the television in the basement started flipping channels by itself. The remote control had been left on the coffee table. I thought the cat had maybe sat on the clicker. See, why is he even in the basement to see this? Just saying. The real incident that left me baffled occurred when I was 14 or so. I've always had a difficult time getting to bed at a decent hour. One night around 2 a.m., after my parents had gone to bed, I heard the cabinet doors in the kitchen slamming. Naturally, I was terrified, but I chose to investigate. It just sounds like a scene in a scary movie where everybody's like, "No, don't do it."
Yeah.
When I flipped the kitchen light switch on, nothing seemed amiss. However, it was clear that the kitchen was and had been empty. To double check, I poked my head in my parents' bedroom, which was adjacent to mine. Both my parents were sleeping. I had no brothers or sisters. I knew I heard the sound of the cabinet's doors open and slam, yet I had no idea what produced such a noise. I've had friends over that felt uncomfortable in parts of my parents' house. I still feel ridiculous. If the experience hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't believe it. Sometimes I still doubt it myself. The end.
So the cabinets opened and closed.
And lights flickering and the TV flipping channels.
Yeah. I don't know. I think more would have to, well, I don't know, I'm kind of scared. I think more would have to happen before I'd freak out, but I'm kind of a scaredy cat, so I probably would freak out if it happened to me.
If you thought I was at work one night and you were in the house here by yourself, so the kids are at your mama's house, and I creeped in the house, and you're in there in the bedroom, and I came in there in the kitchen and started slamming all the cabinet doors, and then hid, you'd be scared to death.
Yeah.
I bet you wouldn't walk past the basement to see what was going on in the kitchen.
Hey, there's a door there now. I'm pretty good.
Just saying.
No, that was when I was little. I was always afraid somebody would come in and murder us in the middle of the night or something. So I always thought they'd come, for some reason I thought they'd come in the basement or something was in the basement. So if I had to go to the bathroom, I'd come downstairs and I'd run past the basement, go to the bathroom, run past the basement again, run upstairs, hop in the bed, and throw my covers over my head. Like hide, like that was going to do something.
Hey man, all kids think hiding under the covers is going to save them.
Yeah. I don't do that anymore. I'm a little bit better.
You ain't got to go past the basement to get to the bathroom either. You're on the other side of it.
Well, and like I said, there's a door there now, so.
I mean, I think if somebody was going to come in this house and try to kill us, that'd probably be the entrance point.
That's my thought, always my thought process too, so.
Well, as long as it ain't supernatural, we can fill it with holes. Ready?
Yep.
How? I thought it was about time you all had a little ghost story to read. When my girlfriend's mom, B, this gotta be like over in the UK or somewhere. They're the ones who say mom.
Yeah.
When my girlfriend's mom, B, was a young girl during the 1940s, her parents wanted to move into a bigger house. After sorting through various properties, they visited a few that they had shortlisted. One of the last ones was located in Caversham, England. The house was a large townhouse with a cellar. It was a rainy, dull day when they went to see it. When they went to see what the house was like. Why in the hell did they put that back to back like that? It was a rainy, dull day when they went to see it. When they went to see it, what the house was like. That don't make sense that you put those two sentences back to back. Just saying. Nanny said that there was lots of banging and sawing noises going on in the house because they didn't want to disturb the workers that must have been in the house. They quickly looked around the ground floor and decided to return to the landlord. They said that they would take the house, but how long would it be before the workmen that they had heard upstairs had finished the work he was doing? The landlord told him that they didn't have anybody working on the house. I'm sorry, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine the feeling you get whenever you say that. Like, yeah, man, we really like the house, but when's that dude gonna be done working on it? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
There ain't nobody at the house working on it. It was empty. What the hell's all that noise? I don't know. Oh, this next sentence makes it even better. When they moved into the house,
Oh, great.
they had the option not to move into it. All you had to do is take the second one on your list.
Yeah. That's not very smart.
Oh God! All right. When they moved into the house, the father went into the attic / bedroom only to find that every single nail had been pulled up from the floorboards, and all to exactly the same height across the floor. He eventually hammered all of them back down, only to find a few days later they'd been pulled up as before. Yeah. As well as this, they used to hear footsteps across the top landing and the sound of metal bucket clanking against the wall as it went. Lights used to turn off and on at random all over the house. B once felt something brush past her on the stairs. The most bizarre incident was one Christmas. They had a lodger staying with them, but he had gone away for Christmas. The parents tucked in their 6 children into bed after a busy Christmas day and returned downstairs. When the father went into the front room, he saw that all the decorations had been taken down and had gone. Thinking that the mother had done it, he called to her saying that she had done that quick. She denied that she had done this, and then they both searched the house. They found all the trimmings and balloons were tucked underneath the lodger's bed in his room. Hope you enjoyed this.
That sounds like The Conjuring. You know, they had all those kids and had all that stuff going on.
I blame them.
Yeah.
That
If I heard somebody banging on stuff and nobody was working on it, I wouldn't have moved into the house.
Hell
I don't
no.
know, maybe it was a good deal.
I'm pretty sure the good deal was fucking haunted. Pardon my language. Probably got it cheap as hell. Just saying. Oh man, I'm almost out of juice. Yeah. I mean, if you think like I can't explain all the noises, but it was the 1940s. Technically, the clanging could be the furnace. I can't explain the footsteps, but there's probably a reason why, like, the boards are lifting. Maybe the heat and the moisture in the attic are causing the boards to warp, pull the boards up, and then they lay back flat. I mean, we ain't got a ghost out there on the deck, but the nails start pulling up out of it too.
Yeah. But all the same height and...
Yeah, that's a little bit weird. But in all fairness, hardwood floors are normally interlinked. So if you put nails in them, if one rises, they're going to rise about the same height. But I mean, regardless, like I said, I wouldn't have been living in that house in the first place. Remember when we went to go look at houses and we went to that one in Ashland City that, like, it didn't look right on the inside?
Oh yeah.
Like, the size of the house didn't match what it looked like on the inside.
Yeah.
It just felt weird. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, uh-oh.
Didn't it look bigger on the outside than on the inside or something?
Yeah, like it didn't, the layout of the house didn't make sense. Like from the outside it looked like, alright, yeah, this is a cool house. You go inside and the house looked tiny.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a hidden room or there was something going on. Something didn't feel right about that house.
Yeah. I do remember that.
Didn't even look at it long. I was like, no, something ain't right here. This don't seem right. There's something seems wrong.
It's a pretty house though. On the outside it had that nice porch.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's super nice from the outside. But I'm a firm believer if you walk in somewhere and it feels off, chances are that those feelings probably don't go away.
Yeah.
I'd be like in that new movie, I'd be sitting there with a tape measure walking around the house trying to figure out why in the hell where the missing area is. It's like something wrong here. Alright, this story was told from my great grandfather who told to my great grandmother who in turn told it to me. Here we go. My great grandfather and his wife lived in a small town all their life. And there everybody knew everybody. Every night when they left work to go home, they would take the same stretch of road going past the church in the country. The churches usually had cemeteries beside or behind the building. One evening as they started on their way, they noticed that the church had its lights on. With no hurry to get home, they decided to go and see if it was a church revival. As they started up the path, they heard music, sounded like folks were having a good time, and as they came closer, the music became louder. That's normally how it works. You're saying.
Yeah.
When they finally reached the church, they noticed that there were no means for transportation around. But at the time, that didn't matter. They figured people just walked like they did. The gospel music was still playing, and the church folks were catching the spirit, and my great-grandfather wanted to go inside so they could enjoy the worship service, and his wife agreed. They opened the first set of doors, and the music faded down as if the hymn was over, and they and then they opened the second set of doors. They were greeted by a ghostly congregation, along with the pastor that was preaching that night. According to the story, no one turned around to see the visitors, but were in a trance-like state. My great-grandparents quietly slipped out and hurried back down the hill and quickly went home. And as they went on their way, the singing and the music started back up again. Come to find out, that very church that they went to was not there the next week. That church had been bombed during the revival week, and the congregation that my great-grandparents witnessed were the ones that were inside when the bombing took place.
So when had it been bombed?
I don't know. It says revival week. I don't know how much I believe this one. There's a lot of holes in the story.
Yeah. Well, it's been passed down from...
Yeah, I imagine someone could give me that. I mean, my thing is, it says that they walk the same path every night past the same church.
Yeah, you would think they would know.
Well, wouldn't the church not have been there before the night it showed up on the haunting?
Yeah.
It'd been better like if it was like a church that they never noticed before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just saying. You ready?
Yep.
Alrighty. This happened around the summer of 1987, and it's completely weird. My best friend Rebecca and I had borrowed my mom's car to cruise around for the day. Living in a small town, there's really nothing else to do. While cruising some back streets of the town, we sort of just followed the road. It's not a road that I was very familiar with, and as it turned from asphalt to dirt a few miles out, we just kept driving, singing along with the radio. We had the windows down, letting the wind make a mess out of our hair. Before we knew it, we had passed an old abandoned church. Curious, we turned around and went back, parked the car, and began the task of checking things out. Upon closer inspection, the church didn't look abandoned. No weeds, no broken windows. The inside was spotless. Now this may not seem odd, but being where we were, and given the fact that the church was almost completely empty, we got spooked. You see, all we found in this church was the covenant. It was sort of lying on the floor like it had fallen from the wall. Rebecca was into reading tarot cards and such, and decided it would be a cool thing to hang in her bedroom. So we held on to it while we explored the rest of the church. There are a couple of Sunday school rooms, perfectly kept, a tiny bathroom, also neat as a pin. At this point, we began to feel that someone was watching us. So we decided to make a quick exit. Rebecca and I drove around for another hour or so and headed back to my house. She spent the night and went home the next day, taking her find with her. Thank God that covenant gave me the willies. 2 days later, I related our story to our friend Hugh, who was enthralled by our outing and wanted to go check out this church for himself. I agreed to go along for the ride because he didn't know where it was. We arrived at the church, Park got out of the car. Immediately, I felt a presence, like someone was watching us. I was ready to get the hell out of there. Hugh, however, had other plans. He had reached the steps before I did and made his way into the church. When I reached the front steps leading into the church, I freaked. They were rotten, and most of them were broken. There were weeds growing up through them and etc. I made my way inside without breaking my neck, only to discover that most of the windows were now broken out, and there were a few trees growing in through the broken ones. The entire inside of the church looked as if it had been abandoned for years. Ceiling tiles on the floor, in some places holes in the walls. Now this seems perfectly normal to you. Now this may seem perfectly normal to you to see an abandoned church and see that it's been in neglect for some years. The weird thing is that only 2 days before, it was in perfect shape. Now I'm not a rocket scientist, but I know it takes longer than 2 days for a building to get in such a state of disrepair. All this combined with the feeling that someone or something was watching us scared me silly. Needless to say, Hugh and I beat the hasty retreat. Something followed us, but that's another story. Hope this wasn't too long and that you all enjoyed it.
Something followed them. What followed them?
I don't know. I guess the story continues, but they decided not to tell that part.
Well, that's not fun.
I know, that's what I was thinking when I first read it. But at the same time, I don't know why in the hell they went in. Now, I've been into an old abandoned school that was ragged and all that. But if I went into an old empty school that was in perfect shape, and then 2 days later I came back and it was rotten and tore all to hell, I'm not going inside.
No,
I'm
be
leaving.
Gone. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's just me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's me too.
Maybe I have stronger survival instincts.
Yeah.
I always say that if you put me in any of those type of situations like a movie, I'm going to make it out.
I'd probably be the first one to die.
No, you got me. You'll be alright.
Alright.
Ready?
Yeah.
Alright. Now this one's going to be told from memory. This is my dad's ghost story. Actually, it's my family's ghost story. I've actually heard this story collaborated from all my aunts and uncles and even my papa. Because they were all there when it happened. Not to mention that me and my sister both have heard strange things in my papa's old house. Alright, first of the story begins with the fact that the house that my dad lived in from the time he was in his teens on used to be an old church. It was an old church. They bought it and turned it into a house. Alright. From the time they started living there, they would hear things, especially up in the attic. Don't know why the attic. I guess because, just like the story earlier, attics are just creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they'd hear like people walking and stuff like that. But the main thing that normally got heard in the house, same thing that I heard in the house, same thing that my sister claims to have heard in the house, was that you would hear a rocking chair upstairs rocking on the far side of one of the rooms. It was on the far side of the house above where the living room was. And the way the house was designed, on the far side of the other house, the other side of the house, was where the kitchen and the little dining room area was. And then like the room came this far, and then there's a little hallway. You turned and then you came down some stairs that were down there straight up and down. Alright. Well, the most extreme circumstance of them hearing things happened one morning when they were all in the kitchen eating breakfast. Is my papa, my dad, his brothers and sisters, or at least the ones that still lived there at the time. Alright, they're sitting there and they hear the rocking chair start rocking. And by this point, they're kind of used to hearing things. Just ignore it. And before I go on with it, my family ain't like the crazy. Like my dad didn't like me watching science fiction type stuff either. Like he didn't believe in all kinds of stuff like that. And my dad don't scare easy. Alright, so on and so forth. Alright. Anyway, they hear the rocking chair. And they ignore it or whatever. But then, like, if you ever been rocking in a rocking chair, and then every you go to stop it, you plant your feet before you get up, they heard that. The sudden stop of a rocking chair, like somebody planting their feet. And then they start hearing steps coming across the room. One after another. Steadily more going across. They're downstairs, so across the ceiling, but across the upstairs floor in the room that goes over to the far side of the house. They hear it get to the end of the hall, to the end of the door to the hallway. Then they hear it. It's at the top of the steps now. They're all sitting there, and everybody just kind of looking at each other. Then it keeps coming. They hear it one step after another coming down the stairs. And it's getting closer, getting closer, getting closer. Then it hits the bottom step, well not the bottom step, the actual floor. It's off the stairs onto the floor. When it hits that, boom. All the lights in the house go out.
Dang.
They all ran out of the house. The whole family. Papa included.
Yeah, I would be gone. I wouldn't come back. I don't know how they lived in that house for so long. Just the noises would have.
Because they're hard-headed, stubborn-ass rednecks. They're not going to be ran out of the house by anybody, dead or alive.
Yeah, the noises would make me ready to.
I heard that story when I was a kid and still had to go up there to that house after I'd already heard stuff in that house. That house always creeped me out. But we always had pictures of it. Like my dad had pictures from back in the day when they were converting it from a church into a house. But Pops, he's seen a bunch of crazy stuff in his life. But like out of like supernatural stuff, that right there is like the only thing. Well, I mean, One, I think it was just something that was seared into his brain that he seen the day after a traumatic event. I don't think it was a ghost or anything. One of the stories that he told me, just something horrible that he seen, and when he woke up the next morning, he seen it again. I think it's just one of those things that get seared into your brain.
PTSD.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody sees a human fall back on a transformer, electric pole transformer, and get electrocuted with fire shooting 4 foot out of their back. That happens to be somebody that's close to them.
Yeah. No, I've heard that story plenty of times, and it's never.
It's Tanya's daddy, just so you know, that happened to. My cousin Tanya. It was her.
Yeah.
It was her dad.
Yeah.
His name was Jerry.
All right, well, that was the final story, and this is the final look. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it looks good. Kind of got my lip liner a little weird, but that's all right. I hope you enjoyed my husband sitting down and reading us ghost stories. This is the second one that we've done. We really enjoy doing this. I hope y'all enjoyed all the stories, and I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button. Also subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love for you to become a part of our family here. Also ring the bell so you can be notified whenever I upload my amazing content. And that's going to be all for me. I hope you are staying happy, healthy, taking care of yourselves, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.